We'll now continue with the second question and answer session. Our first question is faxed from Tianjin, China, and so I will read this for you. The current financial crisis, which seems to be a topic these days, show that the uncontrolled innovation is one of the reasons, I suppose, behind these crises. The question is, what do you think the priority of any organization should be between dramatic innovation and mild internal improvements?
I guess the answer has to be you have to do both of those. If you rely on one without the other, if you just rely on implemental change, you may miss out on the possibility of some major, I guess what we refer to as revolutionary change, major movement from current ways of doing things to some really new way of doing things. But clearly the world, with technology advancing as fast as it is in literally every field of endeavor, we're getting revolutionary changes all the time. So one must constantly implement improvement, but you also need to be open to those major new changes as well.
All right. Well, our next question is from Ensenada, Mexico, and again, it is a fax question. So, which should be the highest or higher priority, the interest of the client or the interest of the employees?
Yeah, a few years ago, I think we focused almost exclusively on the client, on treating the client well, major service to the client. But I think we've learned over the last few years that the only way you can do that is through treating employees well. The chain really starts with the employees. Treat them well, care about your employees, and they will take care of your customers.
So there is not really a conflict between the two
No.
two concepts. It has to be hand in hand. Do we have any other questions?
There's a live
question. Okay. All right, we go to Tijuana for the next question.
Buenos días, adelante México, su pregunta, por favor.
Gracias. ¿Qué debe hacer una organización que está en busca de
What should an organization do, an organization that is striving for excellence,
pero que se enfrenta
but this organization is then facing
ante un ambiente turbulento
a turbulent
muy fuerte como el
environment,
de la actualidad?
a current economic crisis like we are seeing presently? What can we do?
Yeah, great question. And in a different lecture, I talk about ways to try and deal with the chaos, with the constant change that we're all confronted with. Some of it is a matter of constant training, constantly trying to improve your own skill set, thinking about what might happen, what's sometimes called scenario planning, and developing ways to deal with those possible scenarios. Some of it is a matter of making sure the people you're dealing with, so you have good, I think of whitewater rafting, which can be considered a kind of a chaotic kind of activity. And the guides who do that constantly train, but they also learn some basic skills and develop ways to apply them to new situations. So you're right, the world is very turbulent these days, and we have to develop strategies for dealing with the turbulence.
Okay, for our next question, we stay in Mexico. Go ahead, please. Okay. All right. So we have. All right. So. Okay. So our next question. Let me just move on to it seems to me that so far we have been talking about contradictory concepts or seemingly contradictory concepts. between excellence and the day-to-day affairs of the organization, employees and clients and so forth and so on. How do these contradictions arise in the day-to-day affairs, and how do we deal with that?
Yeah, interestingly, one of the well-known European scholars on culture change says one of the things we have to learn to do is handle conflicts at the same time. We need to do X, and we also need to do Y, which tend to be in conflict with each other. And I think there's no good answer to that other than maybe understanding that these issues may in fact be in conflict, but we need to do both of them. We need to take care of the customer. We need to take care of the employee. We need to deal with innovation. We need to deal with rapid turbulence. So it's kind of a bipolar problem, but that's part of the nature of the new world.
Okay, well, I'm glad we clarified that, at least for my sake, if not for the sake of the audience. But our next question is from Panama, and it is also a facts question. So many individuals and organizations around the world have the passion to be the best, but do not know or do not have the means to achieve it. What do you recommend to them?
The means, yeah, but a lot of this has to do with people. So as I suggest in my remarks, the first thing is to get your employees involved. So managers, leaders, bosses need to go to employees and say, this we need to do, and ask for their help. How do we do this? If we need resources, turn it over to your employees and say, okay, where do we get the resources? How do we do this? So it becomes a conversation with everybody participating rather than one person trying to answer all the questions.
All right. And what do you recommend in this current situation, the financial turmoil that we have? How do we challenge that situation?
I'm a management expert, not a finance expert. But ultimately, I guess companies have to take care of themselves. If we become to rely too much on external events or external sources of resources, governments, I heard one financial expert the other day say we all need to have an emergency fund on the side, and he made the point that small businesses should have such reserves themselves and not rely totally on lines of credit and borrowing money to survive.
Sounds like good suggestions. Thank you for your excellent questions as well, but we have run out of time. We hope that you have enjoyed participating once again in this exciting multilingual and multinational program. For further references and study, you can consult your valuable ITC Participants Manual. Our fourth live video conference of the year 2008 series, Excellence in the New Global Economy, airing December 4th, 2008, will be titled Satisfaction, Happiness, and Organizational Synchronization, the Foundation for Optimal Performance and Client Loyalty. For additional information on this video conference series and its certification requirements, as well as dates and specific topics for other upcoming programs, please contact ITC. We remind you that all ITC programs are created by and copyrighted to Miguel A. Cardenas and may not be taped, stored, reproduced, retransmitted in any form, in whole or in part, without the written consent of the author. On behalf of all of us, I thank you for your ongoing participation and interest in this unique program. Thank you and see you soon.